Hello everyone, welcome back to Henry's Feast rules and gameplay tutorial. In this video, we're going to go over all the actions that you can do in a turn, how to use them, how to use the bonuses, and finally, what are you going to actually get out of it at the end of the game. So, the actions that you have, as you can see via the rulebook. By the way, in Tabletopia, the rulebook is right here if you click the icon, and you'll be able to then go through it and go over each of the little details that I'll be discussing in the game. So currently we have gone through the game components, we have done the game setup, which in the first video we went over what the starting stats are going to be. Now we're going to basically go over the actions. So the first action is go to market. So when you go to market, what you're doing is you're going and getting back all the ingredients that you want. Now in the market, everything is available, but it's still in limited quantity. What you can bring back equals to your satchel size. So your satchel size, starting satchel size is 2, plus any of the bonuses that you may have earned, and we'll go over how you increase that in a bit. So if you go to market, what you're going to do is you're going to get the the ingredients for the recipes that you're trying to make, or whatever your strategy may be, and you're going to put them in your pantry. Now the thing to note here is that if you go to the market, you can never put anything directly to your stations. The market is far away, it takes time to go there, so everything you buy from the market always goes to your pantry. The other thing to note is the market is limited to whatever your empty space in the pantry is. So if we're starting the game, the starting pantry space is 5. If there are already 3 ingredients in the pantry, that means you can only bring back 2 ingredients. If by any chance you were in the situation where you had 4 ingredients in your pantry already, then you can only ever bring back 1 ingredient. And just like that, if your pantry was actually full, then going to market will not help. You cannot bring back anything. In fact, going to market is not even allowed at that point. You should probably be doing something else. So keep your pantry space adjusted just enough that you can go to the market. This will form the basic part of the strategy. How you increase the limit of what you can do when you go to market is by increasing the satchel size. So if you had 1 satchel, now you can bring back 3 ingredients. You still have to respect the pantry space. So if you have a pantry space of 5, then you need to have an empty space of 3 if you want to bring back 3 ingredients. When you get to 3XL, the XL means that you can now bring back 2 ingredients of the same kind. So you have 2 plus 3, satchel size of 5. So you can bring back 5 ingredients. In that, you can bring back 2 ingredients of the same kind. You can never bring back 3 ingredients of the same kind, even if you have XL. What that also means is when bringing back ingredients, still you get XL. You can only bring back different ingredients. You cannot bring back from the market, or you cannot purchase from the market 2 ingredients of the same kind. You will need an XL for that. To increase the satchel size, what you need to do is you need to cook the satchel's bonus. So if you cook lemon rice, you will immediately get the satchel's bonus. So the way this will work is when you cook lemon rice as a dish, you will simply take the tracker and move it 1 space up. When you reach the maximum satchel size, it can no longer go any further, so cook the satchels will not help. It will not get you any bonus points either. And the same applies to any bonuses. So if you cook beyond the level 3, it doesn't help. It's not advised, don't do it. The other bonus is pantry. So while we're talking about the pantry space, let's discuss how to increase this. So if you cook rice with egg, as in this situation, then you can increase the pantry space by 1. And when you get to 3, that's your maximum pantry space, and you will also get fresh stock, which we will talk about next. So that is your go-to-market action. Your next action that you can do is go to Stockroom. By the way, so one thing to mention before I mention all of the other actions is in a round, each player may only do one action. That is one active action and any number of passive actions. So there are 2 passive actions in the game, which is discard ingredients, and you may adjust pantry when you cook dishes. So we will discuss those when we get to that, but you're only allowed to do one action at a time. So if you go to market, that is your turn. The next active action is go to Stockroom. The Stockroom is close by to the kitchen, so it is shared by all the chefs, all the kitchens. So it's what you can do is you can go to it quickly, and the biggest difference between the Stockroom and market is that the probability of finding what you want here is a lot lower. What you open here equals to the pantry space that you currently have. So if you have a pantry space of 5, as in the beginning of the game, you will be allowed to open 5 ingredients in the Stockroom. So once you have opened the cards equal to the equal number of cards as your pantry space, all you will do is basically flip them all, and then similar as going to market, you can now go and take cards from the Stockroom. Another difference from market is that market had a limit. Stockroom has no limit. So whatever cards are displayed, you can take all or any or none. That's totally up to you. The reason to go to Stockroom is also that this is one of the turns where you can move things or ingredients from your pantry to your stations. So you can do this in any order you want, before going to Stockroom, before revealing the cards, or after, but you can choose to move whichever cards you want onto your stations. And from Stockroom onto your stations as well. Remember, when we went to market, we were only allowed to move the cards to the pantry, but when going to Stockroom, we can move them directly to the stations. Stockroom is nearby, and that's a big advantage. And the other thing you can do is move them to your pantry for a future use. So at the end of going to Stockroom turn, you may have cards which are totally moved around from pantry to stations, from Stockroom to pantry, or Stockroom to stations. Now, when the first player went, there was nothing opened. So you open the 5 initial cards for the Stockroom. But what happens for the next player? So the way the Stockroom works is, on your turn, you get to choose whether you want to discard the 3 cards, for example, in this situation, that are left over by the previous player or not. This is only available when you go to the Stockroom. So you cannot do anything to the Stockroom until you choose to do the action, go to Stockroom. So when you go to Stockroom, initially you have a choice: discard all or open the rest. So if your pantry space is 5, you're allowed to now open 2 more cards. Oops. Just like this. So if, however, you did not want potato or onion or red chili, you could have discarded all 3 cards, then open fresh 5 new cards. Now, this is the player's choice whether they want to do it or not. You cannot discard 1, you have to discard all, and you must do it before opening the new cards. So it's a gamble, basically. So the probability is roughly 30%, less than 30% of you finding what you want in the Stockroom. Versus when you go to market, you get exactly what you want. Whoops, I just flipped the entire Stockroom deck. Don't do that. And there you go. So if you did not want to take anything from the Stockroom, that's fine too. You would just leave it like it is, and the next player will then get to decide If in this situation, like we just to show had moved this to +2, so then you're actually going to be opening 7 cards in the stockroom. So the pantry space determines not only what you can hold in the pantry, but how many cards do you open when you do the go to stockroom action. So for this player, we're going to open 7 cards. Now, what happens if it's 3? Or rather +3. Now you have a pantry space of 8. So you will be opening 8. But fresh stock gives you the opportunity to discard the entire stockroom. The reason this is beneficial is when the stockroom is almost at the end and you can actually track what other people are holding in their kitchen, and you know that the cards are actually the ones you want are in the discard pile. So this would be very beneficial, where you can simply take the entire stockroom deck and cards if you wanted to. So again, this is a player's choice. So if you wanted to, you do not need to discard what was already opened in the stockroom. You could have just discarded the deck, create a new deck, shuffle it, and there you go. You now have a brand new fresh stock. So that's how the fresh stock works. It basically gives the or the easiest way to do it is actually not discard the stockroom deck, but in Tabletopia, put this one back in and then simply shuffle. That's if you had these if you had the fresh stock with you. When you have fresh stock, you obviously have 8 pantry space, so then you would simply go and open 8. If in this situation, like I did not actually throw this in, let's say the previous player had left 1, you could have created a fresh stock and then open 7 more cards, and that is totally fine because your pantry space is 8. And that's how go to stockroom action works. The next action we have is visit Chef's Corner. So when you visit Chef's Corner, which is the bottom right part of the section, this is also an active action. What you're going to do is you're allowed to do one of the 4 options that are in your hand limit tracker based on what you have achieved. So in the beginning of the game, your hand limit is 1 and you have peak/steel top available. We sort of went over in the previous video of how this works, but you will basically peak/steel top, you will use, if you wanted to peak, you will go and take this, put it in your hand/victory pile board, flip it back, and then put it back. That would be your peak. When you do that on your hand and victory pile board, nobody else can actually see what you're doing. You can only do one of the 2 options, peak/steal. So if you wanted to and you needed easy dessert, you can just simply steal it. When stealing it, you are going to put it in your hand. The hand limit is 1, which means the maximum cards that you can keep in your hand currently is 1. If, however, your hand limit has gone up to 2, which is a +1 bonus, you will get that by cooking, in this case, khichdi, and you can do similar to get to +2 and +3. So every time you cook khichdi, you are going to basically move forward with your hand limit tracker. When you have steal display, when visiting Chef's Corner, you may steal a recipe from the display. You still have peak/steal top available to you, so every single time you get another bonus option, the previous ones are always available. When stealing a card from the display, all you're going to do is take the card, put it in your hand, and simply replace it with another card. So that does make it that you need to reach the hand limit of 2. So now you can actually hold 2 cards in your hand. The cards from the hand go away only after you cook a dish. So you cannot discard a card from the hand. The only way to free up your hand limit is to cook the dish. The next option on the hand limit is steal down, and the one after is steal up. When you get the steal down option, you can basically go through the cookbook face down. So that means you can see which course or which difficulty is it that you're looking for and steal that specific card. So for example, if you were looking for an easy dessert, you can just go through the cookbook and take a easy dessert and put it in your hand. From when you get steal up, you can do similar thing, but you can now look at the ingredients themselves. So you can go through the cookbook looking at the ingredient, and you can basically pick the card that you wish to take. And this is when you get steal up. So up means face up, steal down means face down, steal top means take the top card, and the steal display is take a card from the display. Now, the chef's corner happens to be close to the market. So when you go to the chef's corner, when coming back, you can take one card from the market and put it in your pantry. So this is similar to going to the market. However, sachets and other things do not apply. The default limit is always 1. The card, however, must go to your pantry, and your pantry must have enough space for that single card. Otherwise, you cannot bring back that one card. You can still go to Chef's Corner, but you can only bring that card from the market if there's space in your pantry, and that limit is 1 card. And that's basically your Chef's Corner action. So visit Chef's Corner. The next action that we have, and one of the more important ones, is cook dishes. When doing the cook dishes action, you can cook 1 or more dishes on your stations. The stations that you can cook on at any given time are the ones available to you. So that's displayed by this tracker, and you obviously get that by cooking the station bonus dish, which is omelette at this point. So if you cooked omelette, you would get more stations. So if you had +1, now you have 3 stations available, and you can use 3 at a time, and you can cook 3 at a time, but it's not mandatory. You can cook just the 1 dish. So for the sake of saving some time here, let's have a quick look. So let's say I wanted to actually cook the bonus dish for rice, herbs, and egg, and I had something similar to this going, where I had an egg here. I went to market and I bought a herb, and the other one was rice. Let's say in the same turn I also got the rice from the market. Now obviously I did not put these cards directly from the market to the station, because when you go to the market they need to go to the pantry. So once they are in the station, in the cook dishes action, you can now cook this dish because it is complete. You can only ever cook a complete dish. You cannot cook a part dish. You cannot do anything with a part dish except discard it using the discard ingredients action, which we will come to later. So anything that's in the station cannot be moved around to different stations. It must stay where it is. It's part of the dish. You cannot take a potato and move it over here, for example. So you can, the only thing after this you can do is remove the entire dish from the station when it's cooked. Now there's a few things you can do when you cook the dish. You can cook anything from the display. If you did that, you will simply take that card and put it to your victory pile. Now you have made that dish, nobody else can. If you cooked a bonus dish, however, you do not take the card from the bonus tracker. However, you will basically take the tracker and move it up a step based on the bonus that you just got. So in this case, it was pantry. I will move it up 1 level. When I have successfully cooked the dish, I will return the cards if they came from the market to their spots in the market, and that's how the cards in the market go back to the market. Remember, there's only 2 cards on the market for each of the ingredients in the 2 to 3 player setup. So I have cooked this dish, so I am going to simply take this card and return it to the market. The stockroom cards go to the stockroom discard pile. If one is not there, just create one, and we will basically move them to the stockroom discard pile. The bonuses that you get out of the cooking dish happen immediately. You may even cook multiple dishes from the display in the same round. So I can technically do something like this. I can cook the carrot barfi, which forces this card to open. Had I peeked at it before, I can now be ready to cook this within the same round and end up taking both if that is what I had planned and it worked out. So in cook dishes action, you can cook one or more dishes. At the end of cook dishes action, this is the passive action that you get, which is just available in the cook dishes action. The passive action is adjust pantry. What that means is you can take any cards from the pantry and then move them to your stations. So you can move it to an empty station or another station where there are other ingredients already. You can only do this at the end of the turn. However, you cannot do this while you're cooking the dish. So when the cook dishes action is going on, you cannot move ingredients from the pantry to the stations. However, you can do it after that action is complete. Now you must be wondering, hey, what about these feast recipes? How the hell do I cook these? Because they are all facing down. So that is actually the most important part of the game, and we'll get to that now. So when you cook your first dish in the game, so in this case, if the game was going on and just now I cooked my first dish of the game, I have proven my worth. So the head chef is very cautious, and he has hidden all the feast recipes. She has hidden all the feast recipes, and she's not allowing you to see them until you prove your worth by cooking at least one dish. It can be either a bonus dish, it can be either the one from the chef's corner. So when you cook your first dish, immediately you're going to take your marker, put it on the prove your worth tracker. Then you will take the easy recipe, move it towards your hand victory pile bonus, and you can now peek at it. This peek is only allowed when you cook your first dish. You have to remember it. You cannot write down the ingredients. Once you have peeked at it, simply return the easy dish back. It is not yet available to be made. When everyone has finished cooking at least one of your other dishes, and there are equal number of player tokens on the prove your worth tracker as there are number of players. So in this game, 3 players, or I think I started saying with 2 players, but that doesn't matter. So however many number of players are playing, if there are equal number of tokens, you do not need to now peek at the dish. You can simply flip it, and now it is available for everyone to make. It can be planned in a way where you may, as soon as the previous player flips it, or even yourself, if you make a dish and flip it, then if you had peeked it, actually you cannot peek it before, but if you make a dish, you may then cook the feast dish immediately if somehow that was possible. Now you can get lucky. Some of the ingredients and some of the dishes do overlap. So if herbs, carrot, red chili was available in perhaps this dish, and you got lucky that herbs, carrot, red chili was here, you could have made the easy feast dish. So as explained in the previous video, making one feast dish is mandatory. So when you make a feast dish, you do not remove this card. All you will do is place your bonus, the markers that you have, the player token, sorry, and put it on the difficulty of the dish that you just made. If the dish you just cooked was the easy feast dish, so herbs, carrot, red chili, if you cooked that dish, you can then flip the medium. So this happens the very first time someone cooks the easy dish. So to open the easy dish, everyone must prove their worth. To open the medium recipe, you must cook the easy feast dish. To open the hard recipe, you must cook the medium feast dish. So the first time easy cooks, you open the medium, and the first time the medium is cooked, you open the hard recipe. And that is how you make and open the feast dishes. Making them is mandatory. Not making them will actually get you negative points, and we'll come back to that when we discuss the victory points at the end of the game. Let's talk about this sugar that's on station number 5. This is the max level bonus for the stations. So when you get to station number 5, you have the dessert station available. This dessert station requires no action to cook, and it has sugar always available, which means that sugar is not required as an ingredient. So you can cook on this station at any time during your turn. So as long as you are allowed to move ingredients to the station. So for example, if I was making a dish which required sugar, cheese, flour, and I was able to move the ingredients sugar, cheese, flour to the station, I can immediately cook it. The three times you can move ingredients to your stations are go to stockroom, adjust pantry after cooking dishes, or in share pantry. Share pantry we will discuss during team play. It is not required during a normal competitive game where everyone's playing against each other. So the sugar station is the only station which does not require any cook dishes action, and you can cook dishes on it at any point in the game. So there you go. Those are your main active actions. You can go to market, you can go to stockroom, you can visit chef's corner, or you can cook any or all dishes with the cook dishes action. The other active action available is share pantry, which is only available actually in the team play. We will discuss that in another video where we discuss the team play only. The last action that you have available is discard ingredients. Now this is an important action because it's passive, it's available each turn, but you can only do this at the end of your turn because it's passive. It is not an active action, so it cannot be done while an action is going on, or starting off your turn, or any time outside the round. It must be done at the end of your turn. During the discard ingredients action, you may discard any ingredients from your pantry, any or all, or you may discard any or all stations. You cannot discard part of the station. So if discarding a station, the entire station must be discarded. When discarding, return the ingredients where they came from. So if the ingredient came from the stockroom, return it to the stockroom discard pile. If the ingredient came from the market, return it to the market itself. This is important to plan ahead because remember, if the pantry space is full, you cannot actually, or your all stations were full, you cannot perhaps go to the market or move ingredients to your station. So choose wisely on when you want to discard the ingredients. And just by going through the rounds and doing these actions, you're going to amass a whole bunch of feast dishes and cooked chef's corner dishes to gain victory points. Now, how do we end the game? The game ends in two ways. First, it is the player who has cooked all their feast dishes. So easy, medium, hard in any order. The ordering doesn't matter for feast dishes. You can cook them in any order. But to actually end the game, you must cook all the 3 feast dishes. So the player that cooks all their feast dishes is allowed to call last call. Now, the one thing I probably didn't mention earlier is that when starting the game, the player who cooked a dish most recently for another person will start. You can just flip a coin, roll a dice, whichever way you want, but just put the first player token on your player token on the first player marker for whoever starts the game. So the player that cooks all the feast dishes may call last call in the same round as they cook their last feast dish, or they can choose to wait and call it some other round, but they must do it during their turn. Once the last call has been called, that round is the second last round determined by who started the game. So if I am the last player and I call last call, then the next round will be the last round. If I am the first player and I call last call, each remaining player will get to still take their turn. This is important because last round is special. In the last round, a player may not go to the market or visit Chef's Corner, and the actions happen in a specific manner, so a specific order. So every single person after the last call has been called, the remaining players till the first player will now take their turn as usual, and then we play the last round. In the last round, the actions happen in one specific order, which is you go to stockroom, then you cook dishes, then you discard ingredients. These all happen within the same round, so there are two active actions, one passive action, and they happen one after another, which means the first time, as you begin this last round, you must go to stockroom. So based on however much you have in your pantry, you cannot discard at the beginning of the round. That rule still applies. You can only discard with discard ingredients action, which is passive, and that happens at the end. So if you had some cards in your pantry, according to that, you are going to go visit or not visit, but go to the stockroom and open up the stockroom. So let's say if my pantry limit was 6, I had 3 ingredients, and there were 2 already open in the stockroom, which is milk and red chili. I happen to want red chili. So what I will do is I will open 4 more cards and put them in the stockroom without throwing away the 2 that were already there. So do my normal go to stockroom action and continue with that. In the stockroom action, you can move ingredients from your pantry to your station. Moving them to your pantry at this point probably will not help because this is the last round. The goal here is to cook as much as possible. So you're trying to look for anything that you can make. You can obviously plan ahead and have your pantry set up in a way where you can move things around. And then once the go to stockroom action is finished, you will do cook the dishes action. In the cook dishes action, you will cook whatever you can cook. So whichever dish you can cook and perform that action. Return the cards wherever it's possible. So if the action requires you to discard the card into the stockroom, you will do that, or send them back to the market. And finally, you will do discard ingredients. In discard ingredient, the one point I think I forgot to mention is when doing discard ingredients, you cannot discard any items, any ingredients that you had picked up in the same round from either stockroom or the market. So if you pick up an egg this round, you cannot discard it. Same from the stockroom. So you cannot take something and discard it in the same round. So in the last round, the same rule will apply. So whatever you took this round, you cannot discard. we mentioned messy kitchen before. A messy kitchen is any kitchen where there are ingredients left in the kitchen. So at the end of the game, the goal is to discard everything uncooked. So if there is anything on your stations, you want to discard it. Also, you want to discard your entire pantry. Okay, and there you go, a clean kitchen. Any ingredients left, your kitchen will be declared a messy kitchen. So in the last round, we're doing actions in that order. We are going to stockroom, we're going to go to stockroom, we're going to cook dishes, and we're going to discard ingredients. So there you go. So once the game is finished, once your kitchen is clean, last round is done, the game ends, and next video we will discuss about the game and victory points.